What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Nerds Watch, the Game of Thrones podcast with the Classy Nerd Talk. I am your host, Suburcular, aka Austin, with my co-host always is It's Mauler, just I, my brother. And tonight we have a very special guest with us, a third person, so we can get some more perspective on Game of Thrones. Jordan, our buddy Jordan. So how's everyone doing tonight?
Good. Pretty good.
Same. I'm afraid. I'm sad that we were away last week, but we were busy, which we'll explain. But we're gonna do a quick recap to kind of get everything caught up, so they think of our perspective. But I was very happy with this week's episode, and I honestly can't wait for the next week's.
Yeah, totally can't. So just a little quick reminder. We had a wedding last week. We were really busy, and they live in Pittsburgh, so I had to drive them back to Pittsburgh. And the time I got home, it was like super late, so we couldn't make it. The only thing that I got to do was actually watch the episode, and then I passed out. So we didn't really have time to do anything. So let's recap last week's episode. So the first, let's go by house, like we always do. The first house we should go with is Stark.
House Stark.
So, House Stark. Okay, let's start off the episode about Stark. Why don't you guys go ahead and take it off?
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and go first. So I'll just hurry up and break it up really quickly down to. I'll just do Starks in general. So with Jon, what we had was Jon having found this dragon glass. He takes Daenerys into kind of like the dragon glass mines, and inside, lo and behold, bunch of children of the night, children of the forest drawings all over the place. Which there's that meme that's all over the place. I love of Jon Snow was the one who etched that all in. I think that's hilarious. But he shows that to her. She tells him, it's like, I will help you against these people when you bend the knee. Because she just loves trying to make people bend the knee. Which I think tells a lot about her character more than others. That she tries to do that. We got the nice family reunion of Arya and Sansa. About time.
And then the awkward family reunion with Arya and Bran.
Bronn. Yeah, Bronn decided to go up, and turns out he's a Stark. No, yeah, awkward. And it's great because every Stark that Bran meets, he says things that only they would know. And the look on their face is just like, okay. Like, whenever he's like, she's on her list. Arya's face was just like, he knows about my list. What the heck? I didn't know this. Great time. Loved it. And then Arya and Sansa had a long talk in the bottom mallet. And I also saw the memes everyone was doing about Sansa being like, no one can protect me, and then it's like Arya, she's like, I'm no one. But I don't know how that will pan out. But that's pretty much what went down with the Starks. I can't think
except you're forgetting one thing that was a major crucial thing. Littlefinger gave the dagger to bring the dagger that almost killed him.
Yeah,
and then he was like, well, Arya can have it because it's not any use to a cripple.
Yeah, he's like,
so
it's
now
wasted
Arya
on
has the. And then we got to see that cool fight between Brienne of Tarth and Arya.
Yeah,
so we
I
got to
forgot
see
that happened last week. I thought that in my head that happened this week because I think I was still talking about it this week. So
well, also too is I'd like to bring up. There is a theory going on. I don't know if you've read about it, about the scene where Brienne and Arya are fighting, and there's like a dark image that walks behind the door.
Oh, I'm not. No. You know what happened last time? There was a image of a dark person, like a dark figure in the background. They're like, it's Cirilio Forelli or whatever his name is, the guy who taught Arya sword fighting. It was nothing. It was literally just an extra walking by.
Yeah.
And then in this one, I'm just like, it's just an extra walking by. It's no Catelyn Stark. Don't get that out. Because there's no way that she's alive because Beric Dondarrion's alive. In the books, Beric gave up his life force in order to bring back her, and it's,
No, you still haven't.
it's not happening. That's not that. Just shut up. There's no reason for it.
I had to bring it.
But I will say
I
the
read
meme
the
that
article.
me and our guest last time, Dakota, we all watched it together. And the meme me and him kept making up. It's just like you just see like Bran just running down there, cycling real fast in his little wheelchair with the little dagger sticking out, just like, I'm gonna cut you. That's in my head now. That's all I can think about. Because he's the true terror of the night. All right, cool. From there, Austin, go ahead and speak about what the Lannisters did last week, which will kind of once you get to a certain point, it'll probably funnel into the Targaryens. And Jordan, you might as well do that one if you're up for that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
go ahead, Targaryen Austin.
Okay, so we're talking about the Lannisters. So the Lannisters right now, what we know is one at the end of the episode before that, Grey Worm and all them were about to attack Castle Rock, and what was going to happen was, the Theon Greyjoy's uncle, the Greyjoy uncle, finally attacked like the Greyjoy fleet and captured the daughters of the Sand Snakes. I think that's what they're called.
The wife and
the wife
the Sand Snakes.
and like
I
the
guess she's
littlest
the wife.
daughter.
I'm
Yeah,
not sure. If
and then he brought them back to Cersei for his prize. And what I love about this scene was the part where he started talking to Jaime, and he was like, "Does she like it rough? Does she like it soft? Does she scream? Does she like a finger up the bone?" And then Jaime's face was like the perfect face. He was like, and he's like, "No, we'll talk later. Shh, we'll talk later." But it, what he did was he brought her back, and then Cersei found a way to punish her. And how she does it is she takes her down in the dungeon, locks them both side to side so they're looking straight at each other. And what happens is she does the same thing what happened to her daughter, but she makes it 10 times worse. What I mean by that is her daughter was poisoned in season, I think it was like 4 or 3. I think it was season 4 or season 5. She was poisoned, and then she died on the ship while Jaime was bringing her back. So Cersei decides that she's going to poison her. So she kisses her with like some poisonous lipstick or whatever, and then she wipes it off, and then she drinks some of the antidote and stuff. Also, too, is she's going to make her watch. Her mom's going to watch the mom's going to watch her daughter like suffer and die through poison, and then she's gonna make her like live there the rest of her life in eternity, like her corpse rotting and stuff, which is kind of messed up, but that's Cersei Lannister for you.
Yeah, like that's what Cersei does.
So overall, I think the Lannisters are starting to get a little crazy with that. So we got to see that. Also, to leaning into more of like this will like break through towards the Targaryen side. So Grey Worm decides to attack Castle Rock, and no one's there. And come to find out that Greyjoy's fleet is now holding them captive, kind of in the Castle Rock, so they can't eat and stuff. They talked about that in a later episode. So that's where we're stuck with there. Also, too, this is gonna tie in. So the Lannisters just took House Tyrell the episode before, and Jaime just found out that Joffrey wasn't killed by Tyrion; he was killed by House Tyrell. Lady Tyrell poisoned him, and Bronn gets his big sack of money, but he wants his castle. But he wanted the Tyrell castle, and then he's like, no, there's no use of having the Tyrell castle because here in a couple days, Daenerys is going to come through, and she's going to destroy that and raid it. So it'd be worthless. And then we're going to lead up to what happens is the huge battle scene that we see. So let's talk about the battle, guys.
All right, Jordan. Before we go into that battle, Targaryen. What else can you think of that they did? If there's anything more of note.
Well, the big thing, one of the big things is that you see Daenerys. Daenerys is at ends meet in this one because like she hears that like, oh no, our attack on Castle Rock didn't do anything. If anything, it hurt us. We lost. Like Theon came back that episode too, and it was pretty much like he told them that we lost our naval fleet, and so she's pretty much at ends meet in this episode, but she ends up coming back and asking Jon for advice because so far everyone else in her little council has given all the advice that like Tyrion has given her and all this stuff has led to disaster after disaster. So she asked him for help, and I think that's a big sign that like it's one of those things that's starting into like, okay, maybe he does know, and like the bond of their friendship, and like leading into what leads into this week's episode.
Yeah.
So to lead into the battle, as that's where we're going with this. The Lannisters are packing up their spoils of war, their food, all the gold to pay back the Iron Bank and all this stuff, and sending it off, they hear a sound. And what comes over the hill but a giant
Brandon
dragon.
Stark rolling down on his wheelchair with a little dagger going, yeah, I'm going to get you guys. I'm sorry. No, go on, Jordan.
But what comes over the hill is a dragon, and not just a dragon, a Dothraki horde too.
Yeah.
And so they have to form up. And literally, one of the things that I saw that was just funny, and I was like, he did say that, and it just shows that like that Robert knew what he was talking about a little bit. He was a competent leader, and like instead of falling back to the Tyrell Castle, which honestly is what the Lannister army should have done, they decided to fight the Dothraki horde in an open field,
which was a massacre.
And at that point, Jaime got a taste of the power of the Dothraki horde and how their mounted combat is probably better suited for the open field environment than what they are, and they cannot really fight outside of forcing them to siege them because it just puts them in a pretty bad spot.
Yep. I think it's also like good to note how Daenerys, whenever she came in on Drogon, she proceeded to nuke people, but most importantly, she nuked the wagons, which was like their grain supply and all that stuff. Kind of like balancing the table. Like she didn't get the gold. Like a lot of people I knew thought that, oh, those were the gold carts that she was destroying. No, that was the grain. Like literally 5 seconds before Daenerys showed up, Randall Tarley told him, like, the rest of the gold is safely at King's Landing, sir. So that wasn't that.
They also talk about that when Cersei's talking to the Iron Bank.
Well,
because the Iron Bank says, yeah, they said, he's like, oh, well, you know, that's the first time we've ever had it paid back plus interest. Also, too, is at the beginning of that episode when Bran and Jaime are talking, he tells the horse to go to King's Island. He tells King's Landing. He tells the rider to go to King's Landing.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to make note about the battle that I personally really liked was how in that scene they were able to swap people's perspective, because everyone likes Bran and Jaime. Like, there's no lie to that. Everyone likes them. Everyone likes Bran because he is what he is. He's like, I am a sellsword, nothing more, nothing less. And Jaime is this trying to do what is good, not really good, just trying to be there for his sister. But when you saw the horde coming And I love how it was like thunder to them. Like they're like, "Do you hear that?" And it sounded like thunder rumbling. But after the horde came and the fire started happening, I just love how it became more of a horror scene than an actual battle scene. Because it was very
Yeah.
one-sided. You didn't get the feeling like they were holding their own. The second that the Drogon burns through the flames, and you have that scene where it's fire, and all these Dothraki starts jumping over the fire, and that high-pitched like strings, that is straight out of horror movie like logic. And I was just sitting there, I'm like, man, I'm terrified just watching this. I was not prepared for that. It was greatly put together. They got destroyed. It was hilarious whenever Jaime tried to get like the small group of archers to shoot up at Drogon. Didn't do anything. And then we had the extremely scary bit where Bran's on the Scorpion going to shoot down Drogon. So what did you guys think? When that scene was happening, what was going through your guys' head?
Actually, can I put some input in before we talk about that?
Heck no. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so like what I really liked about the whole battle scene that I really loved and it impacted a lot was when you saw him burn those people. They didn't just like, it wasn't like no style that I've seen before when it comes to like dragons and stuff. It was more of like an ash burn where like when he burned those people, like they went to, you know, after a while it went to ash, like you could see their bodies, just ash everywhere. And I really like that because you didn't have like searing body parts or like flesh or anything like that. It was just like this dragon literally burned them to a crisp, like a real crisp. And that's what I liked about that. It was very, I don't like to say realistic, but like it's more of like when someone says that phrase, burnt to a crisp, that's exactly what I think now. And I'm going to think that way until then. But yeah, the whole scare part. So Bronn, he decides to use a crossbow, like one of those giant crossbows.
The Scorpion.
Scorpion.
Yep.
Scorpion, yeah.
Technically a ballista, but yeah, they call it a Scorpion.
Yeah, so they, just like Age of Empires. So he gets followed by a direct. Wow, I totally screw up the name all the time. He gets followed by one of the soldiers, and the soldier ends up like opening it up, and then he shoots the Scorpion at him, and you know that kind of reveals the whole big weapon. Impales him.
That's where it kind of like you hear the shift in the tone of the music at that point, turn from like just complete horror to kind of like battle music again, because it's like, oh, we have a chance type deal. Not really, but you know.
But so, you know, it wasn't really too scary. I thought that they were gonna kill a dragon because, like, you know, if you've seen like the trailers from like, you know, the first, you know, trailer scenes from, you know, showing this season coming up, they show that there's a dead dragon, and we thought that was the dragon that was gonna die, and then the White Walkers would bring it back. But you know, it kind of proved some things. Number one thing is it wasn't as accurate as we thought it would be. Also, two is where the dragon was shot at was like on the side of the like an armpit style deal, you know, that was kind of the intensity there. I was a little upset with some things because, you know, I believe in some realism a little bit, and this episode did two parts that I don't think that those people would have survived. One is when the dragon blows up the Scorpion and Bron just like jumps off real quick. I was yeah, no way the burst of fire that was there would have murdered him. Also, too, is I didn't like what happens, and I'm going to explain it here, was Daenerys goes to tend to the wound of the dragon because the dragon gets, like, the arrow right here. And when she's pulling it out, Jaime Lannister decides he's going to be Leroy Jenkins, and he's going to grab the spear, and he's like, Jaime Lannister, you know. And he's about to, like, hit the dragon, and the dragon sees him, and it's about to flow fire, and then Jaime gets thrown off his horse by someone, and they go in the water. And that's the end of the episode.
It was pretty obvious that it was Bran.
Yeah.
But what you're saying about the accuracy of it, the whole jumping out of the fire, I can understand that. I can see that. Same with like the whole pushing Jaime out. Like they would have definitely have got second degree. They would have got some type of like damage done to them. Maybe they did. Who knows? We haven't seen it all yet. But yeah, I can understand that. Coolio. So we're not going to say who won last week's episode of Game of Thrones because, you know, there's a new episode and we'll just continue on from there. So
one other thing I wanted to bring back that we forgot to talk about was now Jaime and Cersei don't have to hide their feelings anymore. In a way. Not really.
No, they do. They just can't be. They can be open about it with the servants. They just can't be open about it with like commoners. Like if commoners learn, I think they would have a revolt type deal because they're just like, we don't want this crap. So like when her servants, they're just kind of like whatever. You were going to say something.
When you say have to hide their feelings, I mean technically Jaime still is hiding his feelings because he's hiding from the fact that he thinks Cersei's crazy. He's just kind of like, I don't want her to know that I think she's kind of going off the deep end a little bit with how she's going about some of this stuff. Like he's like, you can see it in his eyes half the time whenever they're talking about like this war and stuff and what she's willing to do. And he's just like, no, like I'll do it because I love you, but like this is not gonna pan out well for us.
All I'm saying, and I definitely agree with that. All I'm saying is that what has happened in the last couple episodes is really making the Valentine theory really, really high up. Like it looks like it's really going to happen. The whole Jaime murdering Cersei, in some form of way, because it's just every episode that goes by, you're just like Jaime is getting more and more pulled away from Cersei.
Well, also. But the prophecy has to come true with the witch, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk.
Does it have to? There's a lot of prophecies that haven't come true at all.
Okay, so on to the new episode. So the new episode was episode 7. I think it was episode 7. I might have been wrong, but I think it was episode 7. Okay, so let's talk about this Sunday's Game of Thrones that we just got done watching yesterday. Why don't we start off with the first house? So, Targaryen. And decide, do you want to talk about Targaryens tonight?
Rastafarian Targaryens. Yeah, I'll totally do it. So, after the epic battle we seen, and Mr. Randall and Dickon, Tarly, like captured and everything, we get treated to a very awesome scene right after Bran and Jaime got pulled out of water or anything like that. We'll probably go over that later. But we have Daenerys with Drogon in the background looking awesome, kind of like it's a nest type deal, kind of sitting up there. And she gives them the option. It's like, you can either kneel, bend the knee to me, or die. And Tyrion was not having that. He's like, my queen, you shouldn't do this. You can't do that type deal. And she's like, I'm not doing it. I'm giving them the option too. They choose their fate. And most of the people weren't really bending the knee at first until Drogon let out a scream. And then like half of them or a quarter of them was just like, oh crap. I love, because there was this one guy, if you look, one of the guys in the front row, he doesn't just get on one knee, he like gets full down like prostate on his knees, just like, yeah, I'm ready. He's
like, yeah, screw that. The dragon made me poop myself.
That's why he actually got that down like that. But then during that thing, you have Randall and Rickon standing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like he's like, I have a queen and you're not that. And Tyrion says, send him to the wall. Like, don't make him die here. And Randall's just like, you're not my queen. You can't send me to the wall. And so he puts Daenerys in the hard spot that he has to kill her. And I think Tyrion kind of knew that because of how, even though he didn't agree with it, he can't say nothing. And then Rickon says, like, if you kill him, you have to kill me. Not Rickon, Dickon says, like, if you kill him, you have to kill me too.
Mm-hmm.
And
Now,
yeah,
now here's the thing though, because like one of the biggest things about that is just like Tyrion is just like, you cannot wipe out another great house
yeah,
and all this stuff and trying to get them through the wall. But technically, by sending them to the wall, that's just as much as wiping them out because they're not allowed to have kids.
Well, hold on. He was saying the wipeout part after Dickon spoken up. Before, he was talking about sending him to the wrong. He was only talking about Tarly. But then
Well,
when
he wanted
Tarly
to send them both on. He
No,
wanted
no.
to send both. After Dickon spoke up, that's what he did. He
No,
wanted to.
because what originally happened was Randall was like, they have that whole thing. It's like, you can't send me while you're not my queen. And it's just like, then you'll die. And that's when Dickon says, he's like, if you kill him, you have to kill me too. And then that's when Tyrion's just like, don't do it. There's already been one house. The Tyrells got complete extinguished. You don't need that to happen to the Tarleys either. And even Randall looked at him and he's just like, stupid boy, shut up or whatever like that. And Dickon wouldn't do it. And that's whenever they both got sent there. I'm pretty positive that's how it worked because I like memorized it in my head because that was a very important scene. Because I don't know if you guys caught it, but that's a parallel to the Mad King with the Starks. Because at first, now it's not completely the same, because with the Stark, Eddard's dad got burned alive, and then Brandon, his brother, choked to death trying to rescue his father. And in the same way, Tarleys wouldn't let their honor hurt them. Like, they would rather die with their honor, and so they got burned there alive. Which was really sad, because I really started liking Dickon. I was kind of sad that he died. I felt like Dickon could have been a good character.
You mean Rickon?
No, Dickon. His name was Dickon. Because every time they said his name, Bran would just laugh. Like, there were so many scenes of that. It was great. But they burned them alive, and then they went back to King's Landing, and we saw a special scene with Daenerys flying on Drogon to meet Jon Snow. And we got to see Jon kind of pet Drogon, which you could tell Daenerys was freaking out because she's like, whoa, no one else has ever touched Drogon other than me. But he's letting him not only touch him, but like pet him. That was a great scene. We can talk about implications of that if you want to.
The dragons just love the touch of a Targaryen. They're like, oh.
Oh yeah, they're just like, oh, Targaryens. Oh, wait, Jordan. Yeah, you were there. I was sitting next to my roommate whenever like he did that. And I started touching my room. I'm just like, Targaryen feelings. And he's just like, what the heck? Get off me! You're weird. But definitely. And then we have a scene with Varys and
Tyrion.
Tyrion, thank you. I for some reason all that was entering in my head was Viserys, and I'm like, that's not him. I'm talking about how it's like you have to make her listen. You can't just let her go burning people alive. You have to help her and make her listen. Other than that, we have a awesome reunited and it feels so good between Jorah Mormont and Daenerys. Completely
She accepted him back in the friend zone.
She accepted him back. The thing is like, I feel like Daenerys can never like connect with him in like the love way, but I feel like their love now is going to be changed from, I love you like a friend. He's like, I love you, to more like, I love you like a father. He's like, I love you like a daughter. I think that's what's happening. He's just happy to be next to her again. And right as he gets back, right as he gets back, I'll go to the Eastwatch. Don't worry about us. We have to get ourselves a white and bring it to King's Landing. Cersei will then join us then.
If we show her, and then.
Oh yeah, and then.
Well, here's the other thing too. The Daenerys and Jon Snow connection gets even deeper there because especially like after this whole thing, he's like, I have to go back now. I have to go up north again. I need to do this. We need to do this. And she's just like, you didn't bend the knee. I'm not letting you go. And he's just like, no offense, but I'm a king too, so I can do what I want. And she's just like, oh, okay. And then like you could just see it in her face, like he's not. He's being respectful and disrespectful at the same time, because it's one of those things that like it's like she's just like, no one's really ever talked to me that way. And then but he's not doing it to be rude. He's doing it so he could save his countrymen.
Yeah, he definitely has the Stark swagger, like the whole I'm not doing this for you, I'm doing this for the world. And she's like, oh my gosh, superhero complex.
He's not mining just dragon glass.
Exactly.
He's mining some of that dragon ass.
I knew that was coming. I wasn't going to say anything. Oh well.
I had to.
But
now,
no. Anyways.
Yeah, go ahead.
Continuing about that whole exchange, whenever Jon's leaving to go to Northwatch, and she's just like, what is it like? Hopefully we'll like. It was something to the degree of like, hopefully we'll meet each other again type deal. And Jon Snow makes the statement. And he's like, well, I didn't really get used to you or something like that. And she's like, that's weird. I got fond of you, or I've grown fond of the King of the North. That was very badly paraphrased, but that's kind of like the degree of what was happening there. Like, she pretty much told him, like, she's like, I kind of like you as a person. I would like
I'm
you to
crushing
stick
on
around.
you.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm crushing on you.
boop, 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 and you have like the whole like friend zone thing going on. But yeah, that happened, and then this will lead into the next house, unless you have something else to say real fast.
Well, see, here's the thing too. Whenever they're pushing off the boat to go to the thing, after like they had that whole exchange between like Jorah and Daenerys and Jon and Daenerys, I felt like for me watching it, like I don't know if you were paying attention to Jorah, but he was just like looking at what's going on, like the interaction between her and Jon, and he's just kind of like, what's going on here? I think you need to take a step back there, Jon Snow.
Yeah.
And it was just really awkward, and like you could see like that love triangle like forming there.
Yep.
And it was just one of those things that's just kind of like, it was a really awkward situation to be in.
Yeah, I definitely I saw like the look that Jorah gave him, like, what are you doing? But I'll say this, I feel like he's going to be more of a father figure than a lover figure. And so I think he's going to see her and be like, this is Jon Snow, the son of Eddard Stark, the man who exiled me because I sold slaves or anything like that. He's a good guy. And I think he's going to look at Jon like, take good care of her type deal. Mm-hmm. And in the same way that I feel that Jon's going to feel that way towards Jorah, not because he's like, oh, you've been around Dany her life or anything, but because like he's like, I was with your father. He was a good man.
Yeah, that's a funny. That was just one of those funny things that popped up like throughout that entire episode. It was like, oh, your father. Oh, your father, and he's just like, yeah, he was my dad. So what?
So what? What do you want to talk about? You
Yeah,
want to
who
fight
cares?
about?
I served under your dad. I don't care.
Well, I think it's because, and I think this will play a huge part. Jon's looking at Jorah because he's like, hey, your father was a good guy. But Jorah in his head is like, my father hated me because I shamed the family name and I was an outcast.
Shame.
Shame. But
Shame.
I think the honest truth is that like Jon doesn't know that, and I don't think he'll honestly care about that. And I think that's where they're going to become more friends, because he's like, you don't see me as a traitor because of this. It's like, no, just you are who you are. And I think that's going to bring it in.
Well,
so
at this point, Jon's willing to take anyone.
Oh yeah.
And just because he's just like, I don't care. I don't care what you did, because more than likely you're not going to be able to sell us out to the White Walkers.
Yeah.
So I don't care. It's us versus it's like literally like in the episode, and he's like, "What side are you on?" And then he's just like, they're on our side. They're still breathing.
Exactly. I was just about to say, I'm like at Eastwatch. There's that whole scene, which we'll do that one on the finisher up. So I'm going to say this part, and it's going to transition into the Lannisters. Which one of you two want to do Lannisters role?
Also, you can do it.
Haha, you gotta do Austin. So, we have a small scene where Jon Snow tells Davos, no, there was a plan inside the board to get Cersei to kind of agree to a ceasefire type deal.
Yeah, they're like, "How are we gonna do this?"
The plan is to get um, uh, Tyrion snuck in. They're like, well, how are we gonna sneak in? It was great because like everyone in the boardroom just turned to Davos, and he like was looking down the board, and he looks up. He's like, ah, crap. Yeah. I can smuggle you in, no problem. And so they smuggle in to go and talk to Jaime. So Austin, go ahead and take it from there. You can include Davos' part in who he meets and the implications of that, and we can go ahead and continue on. Go Lannisters.
Okay, so what we find out is Jaime comes back. Actually, we find out that Jaime and Bronn are actually survived the whole dragon thing, and they decide to go back to King's Landing. And Jaime realizes that Cersei's in a war that she's going to lose, and he knows this. So he confronts her and tells her, "Hey, look, like this is not your standard like anything. These dragons are legit." And Cersei's like, "And I'm just going to fight them like I fight, like how father would fight them." Also, too, is before that, what happens is Davos sneaks Tyrion onto King's Landing. And my favorite part about that scene, I don't know if you guys were laughing at this part, where he's like, all right, well, I got some stuff I got to get done, so you get done there, and we'll meet back up here. And he's like, what if someone takes the boat? And he's like, well, then we're fucked then, right?
So
hurry
up. He's like, well, we're screwed, but so make it quick.
Yeah, so
like, okay,
he ends up, Bronn actually ends up setting up a meeting for Tyrion, for Jaime down where Robert Baratheon kept all the dragon heads and stuff. We saw Cersei down there, like, trying out the scorpion. They come to an agreement that, that he wants to prove that these White Walkers do exist, and Cersei is going to lose this battle because Tyrion, did. And I like how Tyrion got, like, really emotional. He was just like, do you think I was born? Do you think I really wanted to be born this way? Do you think I want to be this person? And Jaime's just like, shut up. Like, shut up. I saved you. Let's talk about, like, what's going on. You killed father, whatever. But what's going on? And then he comes up with the whole scheme that, hey, they're going to bring a White Walker to Cersei and show her that this is something that we need to, like, discuss, and we need to take care of this first before our petty little fight. So then after that, Jaime talks to Cersei, and then you come to find out that Cersei already knew about Tyrion.
No, she didn't.
Well, she knew. Well, yeah, she did. She knew about setting up Jaime talked to Tyrion.
Oh no! She didn't know either. She didn't know either of those. Because what it was is he's like, I met with Tyrion, and she got really frustrated, and she's just like, why did you do this, blah blah blah. And he explained what was going on, and then he further explains, like, Tyrion didn't kill Joffrey, and she's like, yes he did. He's like, no he didn't. Ornella Tyrell did. She admits, like, before or after you gave her reports, and he's like, after. And she's just like, you believe it? It's like, I believe she did, yeah. And so then Cersei gets really upset, and she's like, I shouldn't have listened to you. She should have been screaming as she died, and so on and so forth.
No, but she knew about it because she tells Jaime, she's like, well, Bronn was a traitor because he's the one that set up the meeting between Tyrion and you.
Next time he does it, kill him.
Yeah. So she knew that Bronn was the person that set up the meeting with Tyrion, because she calls him a traitor, and she says also too, she's like, do you not think I not know everything in my kingdom? Like, that's how she knew.
like honestly, like because like she's during the time in the couple first seasons, she did play the Game of Thrones too, and obviously right now she's currently like in the lead, I guess you could say, because she's the one on the throne, and literally like, and there's hardly like anyone in the castle that's here there to oppose her because Varys is gone, Littlefinger's gone, and like the only other person who has like a spy network throughout the castle is Quelburn, and so pretty much anything that happens in the castle, I think Cersei knows about it.
Yeah. But then it leads up to Davos actually ends up going to King's Landing Market, where they do blacksmithing and all that other stuff. And we meet someone that we've been waiting to see because, the whole meme thing that's been going on about the boat and him, the boat memes have died finally. And that is, who wants to say his name?
Gendry
Baratheon. So he's actually hiding in King's Landing, and he's actually being a blacksmith. And I love that part because he's like, wouldn't anyone notice you? And Davos says like I like Davos's character because he has like these words of wisdom that he always has, and I really like him. Where he's like, the biggest thing that will fuck you is time. And he's like, that's why no one recognizes me. I haven't been in King's Landing for like a couple years now. Like, no one knows who I am. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you can go with me if you want or not. And then he just turns to him and he's like, I'll go. Okay, let me grab my stuff.
I'm already packed and everything. I'm ready.
He was already ready to go. But the best part about that scene is when he pulls out the hammer. He pulls out the hammer that his father used.
Well, it wasn't the one that his father used.
Yeah, it was like a style, but he was more of a hammer.
It was definitely stylized in the fashion because it does have the Baratheon stag horns, which I loved. I liked the second that Gendry appeared, I was just like, yeah, I was like yelling, I was happy. And then when he grabbed the hammer, I went, oh, I was so happy because that was my number one want of Game of Thrones. I'm like, I want Gendry to come back, and I want him to be wielding the hammer just like Robert Baratheon did, and boom, we got both. I was happy as crud. I was tickled pink, if that was a thing.
So then what happens is they end up going. Tyrion ends up coming back, but before they can come back, before Tyrion comes back, these two guards show up to the boat, and they're like, Gendry's like, oh man, I really don't want to kill these. Well, Gendry's like, yeah, I probably want to kill these people, but Davos is like, I'm not really a swordsman. So he actually, hides the hammer when he pulls back the cover to show these guys it's like crab meat. And he's like, crab meat, we sell crab meat, blah, blah, blah. Here, take a taste. And then he's like, it's good for, those nights when you need to like get going, with the ladies. So he gives him crab meat, and he's like, hey, you guys might want to run along to your favorite establishment before you put holes in your chainmail. And I thought that was ridiculous. And then when they're leaving, he also pays them money. And when they leave, Tyrion starts walking down. And the guards notice Tyrion, and they're like, hey, we were looking for you for a midget. Looking for an imp like you with a scar like that. And Davos tries to like distract them with like money. He's like, oh, we could just buy here. And he's like, no, we kind of want to look. And then Gendry being Gendry, just destroys them with that hammer, dude. He just like whacks one, and he's like, wow, pow. He whacks that dude right in the head, man. He's like bleeding out and stuff. So that was like one of the best scenes I think this week. I really, really like that scene. I like when weaponry is used in the world of Game of Thrones. All right, so that's all the Lannisters are really up to. Did I miss anything?
Not really that I can think of off the top of my head. What about you, Jordan? You got anything to add to that?
Well, no, not really. Like he covered like most of the parts, and like the whole Jaime coming in and saying like you're probably not going to win this war, and then Just like, well, they also won an allegiance to fight the White Walkers, and how Cersei's going to Cersei's going to do Cersei things and betray them eventually at some point after the White Walkers are beaten, or at a pinnacle point in the fight against the White Walkers.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's definitely going to happen. I'm not for that, but I can see it happening. It's That's Cersei for you. All right, Mr. Jordan, on to the Tarleys. We're going to the Tarleys now. Less because of Dickon and Randall Tarley getting burned alive, but because Sam did play a big important part in this episode. And a big thing was confirmed, which I was super excited about, but they completely glassed over it. But I'll let you go ahead and talk about that, Jordan. Feel free.
So at this point, Sam's having to redo all these scrolls of this I'm assuming now dead Grand Maester because of how old the scrolls were, and he walks into a meeting between all these Meisters, and they get the Raven message about how from Winterfell about how the Night Walkers are coming and all this stuff, and they all start talking. He's like, "Oh, it's just a fairy tale. These aren't real." And then Sam is like, "No, they are real. I've seen them. This is something we need to take care of." And then the one Meister sits there and is like, "No, this is all fake and all this stuff." And then the Archmeister has some wisdom in going. I was like, it could be real. It couldn't be. Or this could all just be a giant fabrication to pull us away from the aid of the Queen.
Yeah.
And so he's being very passive. He doesn't want to believe it, but he kind of doesn't want to pick sides because he wants every opportunity to examine the situation. But Sam knows that there's no time for that. They need to take action now. There's nothing to analyze about the situation. He knows what it is, but because he's just a lowly Meister acolyte training, he can't do anything. So later that night, while he's rewriting the scrolls and all this stuff, and Gilly is sitting there reading off information about how many steps are in the Citadel, and that this Meister recorded every shit he took from every day. And he's just sitting there. He's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. He gets a little frustrated at her because he wants her to shut up so he can actually work. But I feel she handled that situation pretty well, because it was just kind of like, she didn't get mad at him. She was just like, I know you're upset. I'm just trying to help you with this stuff. And then he's just like, and then in that moment he decides I'm not doing this anymore. I can be more helpful somewhere else. Yeah. So he goes into the Citadel, he goes into the library, and he gets all the books that he can, all this old ass information and scrolls and all this stuff. And he loads up a cart and he leaves with Gilly and Sam. And he's pretty much done. He just doesn't want to deal with the bureaucracy that is the how the Meisters work. He wanted to be a Meister, but he's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is becoming redundant. I'm not getting anywhere with this.
Fun fact that I learned actually this week, because I've been trying to pinpoint this actor. The main guy that's the Citadel guy.
The Archbishop Maester, the Archmaester, yeah.
I didn't know he was the cop in Hot Fuzz until I put two and two together. I was like, oh, he's from Hot Fuzz. Okay, he's Nick Frost's dad in Hot Fuzz, which is a fun fact.
Yeah, I knew that was him before it even aired, because I watched the one YouTube dude, and he talks about the different actors who are getting put into the series. And he was one of those. I'm like, oh yeah, I know him from the different series. Same with the what is it called? The Golden Bank, the Iron Bank, the representative. That's for me, I look at him like, hey, it's Marcraft's home, Marcraft Holmes. Holmes's brother from
Mycroft.
Sherlock. Mycroft, thank you. I couldn't think of the first part. Yeah. So let's go ahead and talk real fast about the implications that was mentioned during the Gilly Sam scene. I kind of figured this was true, but they really quickly glazed over it. When Gilly was talking about it, it's like, what's an annulment? And he's like,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
it's when a husband, like whenever the church divorces a man and a wife. He's like, huh. Well, it says here that he did an annulment to Rhaegar and married him to someone else. And that's when Sam like broke down. He like stopped what they were talking about and just talked about how he hates everything. But what that was, it was confirmation on the theory that Jon Snow is 100% Targaryen. And he is birthright Targaryen, which means he has more claim to the throne than Daenerys. Because the first son, sons come before daughters. I believe he has better claim than Daenerys. I'm kind of foggy when it comes to nephews or whatnot. But since his father was the prince to the crown.
Well, first prince.
Yeah, first prince.
He would have been first prince. The fuckboy.
Aegon or whatever his name was. The first one who got his head smashed in. I know which one you're talking about.
Well, he didn't get it smashed in, like maybe in the books, but like he got it. He got his gold crown.
You're talking about Viserys. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Rhaegar's other child.
I'm talking about the one that like.
Yeah, Viserys, the one who.
Yeah.
Dany's brother. Yeah, he definitely had the highest claim. But now since he's gone, Daenerys is there. I think a son, even of the first son, has better claim than her. But the theory was out for a long time that Lyanna and Rhaegar loved each other, and they had a secret wedding, and then Jon Snow was born. So Jon is 100% Targaryen. He's legal, and that's where things. This is how I think they're going to bring this up. I think Gilly and Sam's going to head back to Winterfell. Bran's going to talk about Jon Snow's true parentage. That it's really Lyanna. And then they're just like, if it's Lyanna, then that means that Rhaegar is his father. It's like, then he's a Targaryen bastard. And then he's like, because Rhaegar was married to Lyanna of House Martell. And I think that's when Gilly's going to be like, no, he isn't. I read a book where it said that the Maester annulled that marriage and married him to someone else. And that's whenever they're going to start piecing together that Rhaegar married Lyanna. And I think Bran's going to confirm that. That's how I think they're going to get to that point. But I don't think that will matter right now. I think it will matter in the last 2 episodes of the next season.
Mm.
I think that's going to be a more resolution climax figure out. I think the most important part that's going to happen right now is the White Walker part. So,
all right.
I don't know. Do either of you guys have a thought on that?
Mm-hmm. Not really. I think you're spot on with it.
Yeah.
Right, cool. So let's go ahead and start. Let's do the last house and kind of wrap this up for this week because we've been going on for almost an hour now. Okay, Austin, I'll let you go ahead. Do Starks.
Okay, so the
Starks.
Starks. All right, so let's go with. We already talked about pretty much with Jon. Let's talk about Arya and Sansa. They're still up in the north. Bran, we really didn't see too much of Bran Stark and Brendan Stark. So Arya is starting to creep on Littlefinger. She knows he's up to no good, and she wants to figure out what's reasoning why. And so she starts following Littlefinger, watching his every move, seeing who she talks to. And then all of a sudden, she follows him back to the room, and she sees that he has a little small scroll letter. And they're like, "Where did you find this?" He's like, "Well, it took me a while to find it in the archives, but this is it." So then he leaves it, and then she breaks into his house, in his room, and starts searching for it. And where it's at is it's in the mattress under his little in his bed, and it talks about I had to read into this because I really couldn't read too much of it, but it's the raven that Sansa sent to Winterfell about bringing aid when she was with Joffrey.
It was the letter, because I actually read up on it too. It was the letter that Cersei told her she should write.
Yep.
And it's the letter that she sent to Robb, saying that Robert's dying. You need to stop this. You need to come up. You need to come down to King's Landing. You need to bend the knee. And the reason why this is so significant is because even though Arya is now a pretty much an assassin, she's become paranoid, and she and her sister are back to how they were. They're fighting each other, and like they're arguing, they're butting heads and all this stuff, and what she said to what Arya and Sansa talked about, and how like you don't have to say that you want the throne. I know you're thinking it, and it's something you don't want to think about, but you're thinking of it.
Yeah.
And so, but the big part about that whole thing, about the whole scroll thing, is that the Meister at the time, whenever they had it, I forget his name.
Pycelle.
Was it Pycelle?
No,
I thought that was yeah.
Micah.
I don't know. Yeah,
Maester
him.
Micah.
Yeah,
Micah.
he saw through the scroll. He was like, this may be Sansa's handwriting, but this is the Queen's words. This is not Sansa. But Arya doesn't know that. Arya sees this as Sansa trying to make a play and become like the next ruler, I guess, or something like that.
Yep. It's funny. Until I found out that that's what the letter was, and in the quick second that I saw it, I was able to read the whole like the king is dying, the king is dead, or whatever, and I figured that was the message. And Arya like walked out, and when I saw Littlefinger like looking at her, I'm like, yep, Littlefinger planned that. He knew he was being followed. It was kind of obvious there, and I feel like he did this on purpose to try and cause more discord between the two.
Yeah, that was his whole goal, because I think his main goal is that he wants Sansa to feel isolated so that he can actually like manipulate her. Because as you saw, once her family started coming back, Sansa started getting like pushing him away a little bit. He's just like, because like every time he tried to talk to her, she was just kind of like, I don't want to hear it.
Yep.
Just shut up. I don't want to hear it.
Sure.
But by doing this, now she's kind of having to. Now she's slowly pulling. Well, now he's pulling her in slowly, being like, "You have no family, really. Your brother's a creeper. Your sister doesn't trust you.
Your brother's a creeper." But that's where I think it's going to fall. Is Sansa and Arya's going to like fight or whatever, and then Bran's going to look at her and be like, "Littlefinger planted that. He did that on purpose. This and this." And I think that's whenever they're going to start like looking at Littlefinger like he's trying to cause friction between us all, blah blah blah, or whatnot. But you think that pretty much covers the Starks? I mean, we talked about them. Bran did the whole message to the Citadel, but there wasn't anything really big with those two.
Well, that talks about the Winterfell Starks, but
yeah.
Now we have to talk about Jon Snow's big move.
Yeah, up to
and
Eastwatch.
What they want to, what their goal is.
Yeah. So go ahead, lead us through.
Me?
I don't care, either of you. I was letting Jordan.
Okay, so he decides that the closest they're gonna do the whole White Walker thing, and they're gonna capture one. So Jon, Jorah, end up going, or I forget.
Jorah.
Jorah, Jon,
Gendry,
and Onion Knight.
Is
Davos.
Is Davos
Davos.
with them? I didn't think
Davos.
Davos was with them.
Yeah, Davos was with him because he even says he's like, "Oh, Mr. Davos," in the jail cell, which we'll talk about. They go to East. I think it's Eastwatch.
Eastwatch by the sea. Yep.
Yeah, and who is there?
The Brotherhood
Tomlin?
without banners.
Well, also Tomlin. Or whatever
Well,
his name is.
Tormund's there because that's in
Tormund.
the one episode he sent all the
Well,
wild
Jon.
ones there to ban it.
Yeah. So we come to find out that the House of the Brotherhood is there too, and the Hound's there, which is part of the Brotherhood now.
Mm-hmm.
And they come up with an idea. Hey, we need to go above the wall. And the one guys are like, "That's why we're here." But pretty much they decide that they're going to go with him on this journey. So the ending shot of the episode is actually them walking out of the wall, and it's just complete blizzard out because winter is here now, and it's just a bunch of craziness.
Mm-hmm.
But in the previews for the next episode, they get to areas where it's all cleared up, which I just think that's funny. Because it's just like it's always blizzarding by the wall, but like the moment they actually go out north, it's like, hey, it's not that bad.
Well,
It's not
I
bad.
mean,
It's like Florida.
It has more to do with the whites. I think this is a magical blizzard type deal, because there's the whole thing like no one knows if winter follows the Night King or the Night King brings the winter. And I know that he walks using the blizzard as a veil for his troops, so that like people can't look at him or see him from far away.
Yeah.
And so I think that just shows how close they are to the wall. They're not like up at the wall, but they're maybe within like 10, 20 miles or so from it. So once they get closer, I think it's going to clear up, and that explains that. Really can't wait for next week's episode. It's going to be an intense episode. I already know it. I feel like we're going to see some deaths that we don't want to see, or we're going to have some of the deaths that we don't want to see, and then resurrections of people we don't want to see resurrected. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I hope. I think it'll be a good episode. But this episode is actually 81 minutes long.
Yep, it's one of the longest episodes.
It's going to be a long episode, and then the season finale is going to be a long episode.
Yep, great.
So,
I love that. I'm 100% okay with the episodes being short, like Sherlock Holmes style, as long as they're as long as Sherlock Holmes, like an hour 30 minutes each. I'm good with that. So let's go ahead and start wrapping up here, guys. First thing I want to hear you guys' favorite part of the episode. Austin, I'll begin with you first, and then Jordan, you're right after. Austin, what was your favorite part?
I would have to go with Gendry. Gendry killing those knights just made my day. I've been missing him because I've always wanted to know why, where he ended up, unless he was rowing in this infinite conflict, whatever he was rowing that boat.
Yeah.
Because they had so many memes about that. But I saw a meme today that was really, really funny about that. It says Gendry boat memes, and then it put the day it happened, and then it put the date yesterday. So it said the ending of Gendry
like
boat
rest
memes.
in peace.
Rest in peace. So I thought that was pretty funny. But I loved that they're bringing Gendry in. I'm afraid for Gendry because Gendry is also a replaceable character, and he's also going with Jon outside the wall. So I think he's going to die there, but I do like the whole hammer thing. It was great. I love that. But that was my favorite part of the episode.
All right, cool. Good. My quick note for the Gendry part, since you mentioned the whole rowing, Davos makes a joke to that. Whenever he's just like, oh, I see you're here, you're right on your nose. He's like, well, it's like what you said, the best way to be to hide from the queen is right under her nose. And he's like, where'd you think I would be? He's like, I don't know, somewhere rowing. I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was a great talk to. All right, Jordan, your go. What was your favorite part of the episode?
I would honestly have to say like the burning of the Tarleys.
Okay.
Just because like it was to me it was dumb because I understand the time frames and the world they live in and all this stuff, and I understand like the honor and your pride, but when you let your pride get that far ahead of you, it's one of those things that's just like honestly they should have just bent the knee because they've already went back on one of their already went back on a pledge. They would rather serve they would rather serve the queen than serve the house that they are bannermen to.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things. I'm just like, you're stupid. You are honestly like really stupid for being like, you're not my queen, and like just really hating on that whenever before you didn't even want to do what the queen wanted you to do.
Yep.
And it was just one of those things. I'm just like, I'm kind of glad it happened, because it was just like it was dumb. Now, Dickon, obviously, I don't think Dickon should have died. He let his like love for his pride and his love for his father get in the way, and it was that was sad. But like the Tarly name can still live on because of Sam.
And
But it was also the fact that it was a really great show of power for Daenerys, because it was one of those things that was just like, I'm not going to kill you people. You are going to kill yourselves if you don't. I gave you an ultimatum, and this is what happens if you don't go with it.
Yeah.
You die.
And that's exactly my point on that. I was really sad that Dickon had to die. I didn't feel like Dickon should have died. I think Daenerys should have took Dickon as a prisoner and used him as like a hostage type mentality to the Tarly soldiers. But she, like you said, she had to show like she's like, I mean business. Well, I'm not killing you guys because I want to. I'm killing you because you chose this. Which it kind of leaves you to interpret, like, is she in the right? Is she in the wrong? It's a very...
It was one of those things that, like, a lot of people can be like, oh, this just shows that she's just going crazy like her father did. It's like, no, she used logic right there. Like,
yeah.
she was being reasonable. She gave them a choice, and they just chose wrong.
Yep.
And it was... I shouldn't say they chose wrong. They just...
They chose poorly.
Yeah, they chose poorly. They didn't choose the
You get that, Austin?
The option that could save them.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I
Indiana Jones.
I definitely agree.
Also, that's probably like one of the worst ways to die too.
Oh yeah.
It's just like being incinerated. Because like they weren't just like burned like those troops. Like they were literally
like crisp.
Cremated. They were crisp. They were cremated. Like
furthermore, not only they were cremated, their armor was like gone too. Like when at the end there, it was just a pile of burning ash. I didn't see any armor whatsoever there. And to be flesh and went straight from flesh to ash, that requires so much heat, you know? Like, I don't know if they felt pain, but if they did, it must have been the worst pain imaginable for like 2 seconds, and then they're dead. There's no way their body could withstand that. Anyways, on to my favorite part of the episode. My favorite part of the episode, I agree with Austin. I agree with you. But my favorite episode was with Sam and Gilly, with the reveal of Jon Snow as a Targaryen, because I'm a big lore head, and I've been a big fan of the R plus L equals J theory, and I believed it was for love. It wasn't just Rhaegar stole her and raped her, and Jon Snow came from it. I'm just so happy that that's finally true, paid off, and I know for a fact it's true. Now the question is will it ever be brought up again, or will it just be thrown to the side and be like, yeah, whatever, no one cares?
We'll save that for whenever the episodes get boring.
Yeah, exactly. Like 5 episodes or so, that will be the figure of it. So those are our favorite episodes. So now the final question. Austin, who do you believe won this episode?
I would have to give it to probably the Targaryen.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna give it to Targaryen just because the thing is, you know, she kind of showed her dominance a lot this episode. Also, she's trying to. What I loved about, I'm gonna give it to Daenerys, is because Daenerys is showing that she's starting to kind of believe Jon. and she's also trying to set up things with Cersei. So she's stopping with this petty bullcrap, and she's trying to help out the good cause.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it to House Targaryen.
Okay. Jordan, what about you?
Baratheon. No, I'm kidding. I'm
Hey,
kidding. I'm gonna say Targaryen, just because like everything that Austin said, like not only by letting like Jon do his thing, like it also showed that like, you know what, you gave I've been putting a lot of faith in you, and so far everything you've said, and so far like the conversations that we have been fairly rewarding for me. What you tell me, and all this stuff, because his counsel that he gave led her to believe, like led her into a victory, and going, because he's just like, you need to do what you think is best for your country, your countrymen, and your stuff, and your allies, and all this stuff. And it's one of those things that like she's building allegiances and getting allies in the spots that she really in the situation that she really needs in Westeros, because her army, like so far the Unsullied are kind of like they're stuck off somewhere, having to fight Greyjoys at Casterly Rock, and then like she has her Dothraki horde, but at the same time it's just like after that battle, then hopefully Jaime learned, like, okay, we cannot ever fight this in an open field ever again. We need them to siege us, because then they will not be as effective, and we'll be able to defend and fortify more.
Yep. All right. So, of course, we talked about this a little bit before we got on. So, we agreed that Targaryen's definitely won. And the reason I'm going to give my name as the reason why I think Targaryen's won, with a little asterisk next to it. And the reason why is because my favorite part of the episode is Jon Snow is technically a Targaryen. I think this is a win for the Targaryens in double ways.
That's true too.
The fact that since Jon is a Targaryen, that means great things for the unification of the North and Daenerys' people.
Who knows? Like maybe later on down the road, it won't just be Targaryen win. It'll literally be cut and dry. It'll be like Targaryen Stark. Did Targaryen Stark win, or did Lannister win?
That's kind of how I see it right now.
Like pretty much, as long as Jon Snow is involved with both Starks and Targaryens, then it's going to be one of those things that's going to end up being, yeah, they both won.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I was joking about this earlier, and I like that, Jordan, you joked about this too. I was really tempted to give my vote for the Baratheons, because I'm like, let's be honest here, guys. You would really be voting for the Tyrells if all of a sudden like a Tyrell person came out of nowhere and is like, I'm the last Tyrell, and I'm here to bring back my house, blah, blah, blah. Just like Gendry came up and they had that scene with Jon Snow. I love that scene where Gendry's like, our fathers fought together. Why can't we? And he's just like, well, you're a lot, you're less broad. You're less fat than your father. And he's like, yeah, you're less tall. And I just love how Jon was like, oh, because it's funny, because Harry in real life is really short. He's like 5'6" or something like that. I'm pretty sure he's like that tall. But it's great even more because of what Gendry said and what we know now, that Jon Snow is a Targaryen.
Well, here's the other thing too. That's a nice play on that. Is like there was that, but there's also like that little poking friendship type thing that they did to each other, and that's something that you would expect from Ned and Rob and Robert. Like,
they even did that on the the first episode.
Yeah.
When Rob walked up to Ned's like, you've gotten slower or something like that, and Ned's like, you've gotten fatter. And then like he has that serious look, and then he busts out laughing and gives him a hug. He's like, oh, it's great to see you, Ned. That's exactly a parallel to that scene. That was a good call out, Jordan.
But it was just one of those things that like like hopefully nothing bad happens to Gendry. It's also the fact that I also wouldn't mind that whole thing with Robert saying you one of your kids and one of my kids form together and our houses will be unstoppable. So there's that too.
That's why I'm hoping for Gendry and Arya still. Even though like Arya's kind of like I'm not going to be a lady type deal, that doesn't mean that Gendry and her can't get together. I still want it to end with Sansa being the lady in the north. Jon is like some type of king, and Gendry and Arya are together for some reason. They rebuild House Baratheon. I don't know. That is like my 12-year-old like girl sitting there writing in her journal fanfic. But like that's why I want. It doesn't mean that's going to happen, but I'm excited for that. So now with House Targaryen crowned as this week's victor, quick, real fast. What's one prediction that you predict that will happen next week, Austin? Make it quick. Caught you off guard with this one. That's why I did.
Yeah, I totally did. So why don't you go ahead with yours and I'll think about mine real quick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. So my prediction for next week, I know we're going to get a lot of White Walker type combat. I think we're going to see the reenactment of Azor Ahai. Because I believe it said in the book that it's like Azor Ahai went and fought the Night King with 12 knights. Or maybe it was 7. I can't remember. It was like one of those numbers. And Jon Snow went across there fighting with 7 people, and I think this band of people he has is going to be his centrifuge for who's going to fight the Night King with him. I think something's going to happen. Either they're going to get overrun, and the Night King's going to look at him and be like, "You can't stop me," and kind of like let them pass just to have that white, so he has like the whole South fighting against him. Because he has like maybe a superiority complex. I'm throwing on what I think the Night King is kind of like. Because like the only thing we know of the Night King is when he did a Heart Helm where he like come at me bro type deal. I think he is cocky, and I think he's cocky because he knows that he is literally a walking army of death. So I could see him giving Jon Snow a White Walker just so that way the whole South would unify against him. So that's my kind of prediction. I don't think they'll die because the Night King will let them go. All right, Austin, back to you, mister. I'll jump on your side, and hopefully he's caught off guard.
Okay, so my prediction is actually the Hound is going to die.
Okay.
I actually think the Hound's going to die because he's been his character's drug on a lot, and I think that there's going to be a main character that's going to die this episode.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be this, or it's going to be Arya finally killing Littlefinger, which I would love to see. Or Bran. Bran getting his revenge. He stabs
Wheelchair.
him with the dagger. Wheelchair. He's like, also, too, is I think Sam's going to return, and he's going to go to Winterfell.
Okay.
I think that's where he's going to go because now he knows Jon was king of the north there. He's going to go there because he's friends with Jon. So I think he's going to return there.
All right. Fair enough. All right, Jordan, what's your prediction?
I think Jon's going to run into his uncle.
Ooh, that's a good point. I
Ooh,
totally
Benji
forgot about
Stark,
that.
yeah.
Benjamin Stark, yeah.
Because he's still beyond the wall. I don't know what he's doing really since the Three-Eyed Raven is
Dead.
if we consider it dead / technically south of the wall now, if you want to consider Brandon the Three-Eyed Raven.
Or my theory that the Three-Eyed Raven actually warged into Bran, and that was actually the Three-Eyed Raven and not Bran.
I read an interesting theory today that I actually think Bran is actually the Night King.
Okay. Anyways, Jordan, continue on.
So, like I just feel like them running into Benjen is going to be something that is a key part because like he's been beyond this wall, and they could bring him back. Like if they can't get a White Walk, they could bring him back because he is technically a
Ooh.
White. But he
That's
is not.
true. Oh no. He can't go past the wall, remember?
I thought he could.
No. That's why he didn't take Bran across the wall, because he's like, the same magic that keeps the Night King out, I'm out. I can't come in. Now, if the Night King gets past the wall next episode, Bran then Benjen can go with him.
Well, that might end up being the ultimate thing too. Is that they're just like, okay, we can't stop this. So then Benjen comes, and it's just one of those things, and then they can have the whole debate of like, how do we know he's really dead? And then it's just like,
No
stab him.
heartbeat.
And it's just like stab him. And he's like, yeah, that didn't hurt.
They accidentally use the Valyrian sword.
Yeah,
Him.
and then he dies.
Oh.
Well, no, he
crap.
shatters because that's what happens to them.
Well, no, remember he's. Oh wait, no, you're right. He's not white. He's a knight. He's essentially a White Walker. All right, cool, Austin. Do you want to sign us out?
All right, gentlemen, thanks for listening to Nerds Watch tonight. Just remember, if you want more content or you want to hear more about this podcast, just remember to subscribe to Classy Nerd Talk. Also, like our pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter. Also, we do a giveaway every month. So to this month's giveaway, we're still doing the Marvel vs. DC and the Smite Gems. If you want to enter those, just go on the Facebook, and we have those forums posted up. Also, too, is I just want to thank Josiah and Jordan on for tonight, and thank you guys.
No problem.
No problem.
Yeah. And hopefully we get to see you back, Jordan, so we can do some more podcasts of Game of Thrones. But just remember, all right, and just remember, our watch isn't done here, but we stay classy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.